Hi there, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live premiere. Today we're looking at the latest update by Candice Cooley from her newest post on the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page. We're going to be analysing it and see what it's all about. It is with regards to the wallet, but just to see what else has been mentioned, right? Considering that recent breaking news, what we heard about that new DNA evidence being found, does it link to what Candice Cooley has to say? Or could it be the opposite of what she is stating? Well, we'll find out later on. I also want to look at the comments from yesterday's video, catch up there. If there's any questions that need answering, if there's any interesting information, we'll definitely be looking at that. And I'll probably be doing that first today because I have noticed recently it doesn't really matter what order I do it in. I noticed some people are late to the videos and then some people have to rewind back. So if I do it in this format, then at least when people do join on into this live premiere, they'll probably be present at the time I'm talking about the main important part of this video, right? But not to discredit the first part of this, what we're doing, because we're acknowledging the discussions about the Dylan Rounds case. You know, there's been some very interesting points made over time through the comment section, and it has also enabled future videos as well at times, right? So speaking of today, I would have done something like this yesterday as soon as possible, but I already had a video for yesterday, right? And I just wanted to spread it out so nothing gets forgotten about, right? And I think maybe last night might have to redo the video because it's just not quite hitting, the nail on the head as for the reach of people. But maybe it's because most have lost interest in this case. It's for a fact. The Dylan Rounds case isn't dead, but the community mostly is. And that's a fact. You look at the numbers all round. It has decreased and it will continue decreasing, right? Because normally, if there was ever breaking news, it would grab people's attention, but people can't be bothered anymore, even when there's breaking news. So it is a matter of a stamina war. Shout out to all the people that still watch these videos. It's very good of them as well. Shout out to the people last night. What was it? King Samoan, and then a few other people for the super chats. Appreciate that. I think Cleo as well. I can't remember all the names, but it's good of people from last night. Toe Jam, of course, shout out to him, and anybody else that was present. Okay, maybe Jim Coddington, if that's how you say the name. Interesting name. So it's all under control there. There is another video that needs to be made, but I thought that the Dylan Rounds coverage was more important than the likes of Bob Farrell. Okay, I will be doing, just as a heads up to anyone wondering, I will be doing a response video in regards to Bob Farrell tomorrow. We do have a bit of a problem with him. Okay, Bob Farrell has, in a sense, shown his true colours despite what he has previously stated. So I will definitely be doing a video on that tomorrow, with or without the use of additional tools. Okay, time will tell. That aside, it's about Dylan Rounds today. So people that are watching right now, feel free to share your thoughts, opinions and reactions in the live chat box on the right hand side of the screen. If you come in late or rewatching this, leave your comments down below. In the pinned comment section, there'll be some additional links if you wish to check them out. And if you want to check the previous video out, it's clearly available and easy to find on my channel page, right? So I think with that all being said and done, there's not really much else to talk about as for the background. Well, actually, now that I think about it, looks like I'm trying to be silenced once again. Once again, I have received a false copyright claim for music that never existed in my video. It's an old video once again on the Dylan Rounds case, which is very typical. It's that pizza and drugs, Merlin, Epitaph, some kind of scam or some kind of dodginess going on there. Someone or outsiders, Dylan Rounds community, true crime community, possibly trying to silence me because they don't like the fact that I am Mr. Consistent, that I have created the most coverage on the Dylan Rounds case out there, and that I still continue to do so, that people have grudges, some have gay obsessions, and others are jealous of Warlight Ref's channel just being able to think of new ideas in this case, whilst others fumble and stumble around with their blabbering voices and warbling sounds. So I'll be sharing that to you later on in this video as proof once again, because I do like to document all this as we do go along, just standard formal procedure, okay? But I think just to break things down and ease ourselves into today's video, let's look back at the comments and acknowledge them. I will just adjust it to the latest comments, start from the bottom. Tom saying, I got no notification. I'm sorry, I missed everything. Well, hopefully, Tom, you were able to catch up on last night's videos because it was quite a deep one and there was a range of deep questions which I talked about and referred to. So make sure to catch up on that, Tom. As for anybody else that might have issues with not being notified, well, that's typical YouTube once again. You know, if you want to be fully notified, first of all, feel free to subscribe to the channel in order to have notifications turned on. And YouTube says have all notifications turned on from that channel, so then you'll be informed about anything and everything. If you're already subscribed but you're still not receiving the notifications, I think it was said that turn them off and then turn them back on and double check to make sure they're all on. Sometimes YouTube does play up, so there's no surprise there. We've got Robert here saying, already explained as for ventilation. I'm not sure what Robert is talking about there. Maybe next time, Rob, when you do leave comments, whether it's in response to something I said in the video, feel free to leave a timestamp because then it's easier to understand where you're coming from. Indiana saying, joking aside, did Brenner shoot Dylan in the head so he cut it off? Fed his body to the pigs, and it was Dylan's head in that hole in the grain shed, with Brenner moving it out that night in one of those bags. Moving it out at night. We've never really talked about that nighttime activity as for moving stuff about. We talked about the spring cleaning, which was morning time or afternoon. It was like daylight, at least. But as for nighttime operations, I wonder if that's ever happened at any point besides Brenner. Has anyone in Lucerne been moving about at night around the time of Dylan Rounds going missing or being killed, and then actions taking place to clear up stuff? I mean, if Brenner did shoot Dylan in the head, why would he then cut Dylan's head off? Or are you saying, Indiana, that Brenner may have shot Dylan in the head, which caused the head to come off? Normally that doesn't happen. I mean, if you had a very powerful high caliber gun, maybe a 50 cal or some kind of shotgun up close, and you shot someone's head, most of the head would probably go like a watermelon, right? Would it be classed as a decapitation? No. The decapitation normally involves the usage of a knife, a sword, sometimes a blunt instrument, a shovel, which completely detaches the head from the rest of the body and the head remains intact. That's the typical type of beheading. And as for burying it in the ground, I can't really see it that way. I mean, I don't know about the size of the hole. Would it qualify for a head fitting in it? Maybe. But it just seems a bit odd how Brenner would dispose of the majority of Dylan's body but keep the head at the shed, buried. And it seems like some kind of serial killer type behaviour there, and I don't think Brenner is a serial killer. He's got problems, of course, many problems, but not exactly a serial killer. Anything else to refer to there? Not really. What are the responses then? Lord, wait until Tom reads this one. Christy, straight out of a horror movie, but I think it would be impossible to hide all the blood. Also, pigs don't eat teeth, but all the rest, so why not feed the entire body to the pigs and hide the teeth afterwards? Fair point. Sounds horrible, but it's a possibility and not the first time it happens. I also don't think Brenner is so smart to think of other possibilities to hide a body or put him in a truck and bury him in another state where he will maybe be found in a few years. this would have only be possible with the help of somebody else. So, Don Hartley. Oh, get off. Oh no, Indiana, long comment. Indiana responds saying, I believe Brenner cut Dylan's head off down at Lucerne Pond. Why take the head off? 1. If Dylan was shot in the head, the bullet would be lodged within the skull. Not good if Dylan's body was then found later, and that bullet led back to Brenner's gun. 2. Feeding Dylan to pigs. Pigs find heads hard to eat, where they are played with more, so like a football. Even if they did manage to eat the head, the bullet would be dispelled as the teeth, as neither would be digested. Though if it helps, Ellie had the same idea, and as far as I know, the styes were checked. But as to why Kurt then killed all the pigs after Dylan's death remains to be seen. No one eats a pig after eating a human, but the pigs could then have been cremated and the remains got rid of, as the smell of pigs roasting would not seem odd with all the barbecues going on around Memorial Weekend, whereas the smell of burnt human remains is unmistakable. So you suggesting that with the part 2 of your theory that Kurt Wadsworth may have assisted, that the pigs which contained Dylan's remains inside their stomachs were all burnt alive, well not burnt alive, killed, then burnt down into ashes. And you're saying that's Memorial Day weekend, possibly because of all the barbecues going on at the time relevant to the day Dylan was murdered. I just don't think all that would happen in one day. I don't think pigs would instantly consume Dylan in a matter of seconds, all on the same day, for Brenner to transport it all the way down to there, and then for them to eat the person up, and then to burn it all on the same day. I just don't think it would happen. And let's just see what the responses are. As for Don Hartley, is he a main player or a mere witness? Who knows? I still think this is like serial killer level behaviour, which doesn't apply to Brenner. I don't think Brenner thinks too far ahead of exactly how to do things properly. I mean, yeah, he's been successful in keeping Dylan Round's remains, I guess, hidden somewhere. But you could also say that's credit to just the vastness of Lucerne, the desert, the terrain, how vast and far it covers, finding a needle in a haystack, especially when something's buried. Now, the real question would be, would Brenner have been able to successfully dispose Dylan Rounds in a much smaller area? And I'm talking about a much smaller area. Would Brenner still be able to, succeed there? If not, then it would go to show and prove that it's not down to Brenner's intelligence of disposing Dylan, but more so the environment they're in. That's what I would say. I know the pigs have always come back round and cycled the talks about it, but I just don't see enough proof or evidence of pigs. I've not seen any footage of pigs. I've not seen any evidence of pig remains, just stories online and said by certain people out there. Can you believe them? I don't think so. I just personally think that you can bury somebody and you can get away with it and you can be successful if it's in the right place at the right time and done appropriately. That's all I can personally say. I mean, the initial part, what Indiana was saying was the whole point of the head being cut off. So it's the thing. So you think the rest of the body... Let me just make something very clear, just in case anyone suddenly joins in last minute or anybody in the background wants to twist and turn things. What I'm reading out here is not from my voice, opinion, or what I believe. I'm just acknowledging somebody else's comment, and that is all. Okay? So Indiana is thinking that possibly head cut off just because Dylan could have been shot in the head, and that bullet could be retrieved, and then it could link back to Brenner. But would it really link back to Brenner? I mean, that caliber, that round, then identified as to which gun it belongs to, but then you still don't have the gun. Unless it was a very special, one-off, custom-made gun, which is only suited for that particular bullet, then you probably could trace it back to that key individual. But I believe reality is, if Brenner shot Dylan, okay, and Dylan was buried just as he was, and if Dylan was found, okay, and this is just storytelling, okay, on the basis reconstruction of if Brenner was never treated as a suspect and it was still unknown to this day, okay, basing in what Indiana is mentioning here. If Dylan was found, a bullet was retrieved from the skull or other parts of the body. That ammunition, that bullet was the casing, whatever, was analysed, taken to a lab, identified as to which caliber, which round, which gun it belongs to. Okay, then. So now, where are you at trying to find that particular gun? Well, there'd be many people in the US overall that may have a specific type of gun, a certain handgun, revolver, rifle, 22 rifle. It's not just going to be one person out of this whole world, right? And as I said, because it's most likely the fact that weapons out there haven't just simply been bought from a shop, but they may have been stolen or passed around over time, arms dealing, whatever, those illegal activities. I don't think Brenner is the type of person to walk into a gun store, right? That's not his style, and I don't even think he'd be allowed to with his track record and everything when they enter in details. So there wouldn't be a true way of tracing where the gun came from or who it actually belongs to, right? If you had a firearm, possibly, and that was found, and it might have had initials of the individual, because it's more personalised, then yeah, you probably could trace it back more easier. Or if there was like some serial number, some kind of code on that firearm, which then links back to where it came from, which store, and you went to that store, you asked them, you looked through the books, the logs, transactions made and stuff, and then it could mention the name under the one that purchased that specific firearm. But we're talking about bullets. It's harder to trace back bullets to someone than it is to trace a gun back to someone, okay? So I don't think Brenner would go to that length of, oh, I just shot Dylan, now I need to perform some kind of surgical procedure in cutting up. The thing is, and I just want to say in general, just in general, and that's all, why are some people out there so obsessed with the idea that Dylan Rounds was chopped up? Because the way it seems to come about was from psychics, readers, spiritual people out there. If none of that BS people existed in the first place, if none of those spiritual people mentioned it, would it be coming up into conversation right now? Probably not. I think people are subconsciously influenced by BS individuals out there, and it's become ingrained in people's mindsets over time. You know, if we found a tool which had a bit of blood on, then we could really pinpoint it and suggest maybe that was used when cutting up Dylan. If there was a saw blade with blood on it, or some kind of blade with some kind of DNA belonging to Dylan, and it was within the area, then yeah, it would prove, or it would at least reinforce the idea that Dylan was chopped up. But there is just simply not enough nor any evidence to suggest that Dylan Rounds has been chopped up. At least from what I've seen, how it's been mentioned publicly and, you know, officially in the previous court documents, the news articles, I've not seen anything mentioned about it, right? So, what's really going on? Moving on. Oh yeah, I've got to close that down. Glenn, what does Glenn say? Oh, I hate it when I tap on the comment and it flings me off. Glenn says, the difference between a YouTuber and a detective is a detective will follow the leads to the end and then start over looking for things they may have possibly missed in the hopes to actually bring a case to a conclusion. A YouTuber will only follow the case until the views drop. Your approach is why I'm subscribed to your channel. Thank you for your efforts. So I appreciate that. Shout out to Glenn. It's good of him to say. And that key part, that's such a key part what Glenn says there, where he says a YouTuber will only follow the case until the view count drops. As soon as the view count drops, so does the person covering the case. You get what I'm saying? Now, I can clearly identify and acknowledge that the videos that I make, in terms of statistically speaking, is somewhat of a failure, okay? I'm fully aware that if I was to make a Kenny Veach video out of nowhere, it could get over 1,000 views, maybe even more. But I choose and decide to cover a less significant, less popular-esque case in the mindset of others. Does that make sense? If Dylan Round's case was so significant and popular, then people would still be watching. But obviously, people have got bored of the case because of how it's gone, and it still is dragging on. But nevertheless, there are things to cover, and I have thoughts and questions to put out there and to analyse. So whenever there is something to cover on a genuine, valid, natural scale, there will be videos, and that's why I'm still doing them. Granted, breaks and rest are needed, and times changes of videos just to refresh people's mindsets is a good thing. But as I said, even when it looks like everything is going downhill, which technically that is the case, right? In terms of last night's video, only 291 people watched it. You take that back to 2022, over 2,000 people would have watched that video. So you can see and identify a severe drop-off in interest in the case, maybe even my channel. It is what it is. But despite the statistics failing elsewhere in the background, it is still under control because I do other videos in the background and my short videos as well, and my pre-existing videos from the past, which are passively still active. Okay, I'm at about 260,000 views out of the month. In terms of Bob Farrell's channel, as for his overall views on his channel from whenever he started, he's at 100k views. I'm getting about 100 to 200k views per month. So it's under control there. As for yearly, over 1 million and plus. So it's still somewhat under control. I just want to acknowledge that to people watching, just in case people are interested or were wondering, right? Because I know some people out there could be really thinking, what really makes you keep on going when covering this case when clearly it's failing? You know, people could ask out there and say, Warlike Raf, since you're constantly mentioning that you want to spread awareness on a case and keep it alive, is it really worth doing so when statistically people are not interested anymore? I think what I would respond to that is, because I have already started from back then, I might as well keep on going. If I was starting covering this case for the very first time now and only about 100 to 200 people were watching, then I would identify that as a failure and think, maybe it's not worth the time, right? But I've been doing it for so long, why stop now? You only stop when you naturally, physically or mentally want to stop, right? Besides the statistics and that on the background. So it's good what Glenn mentioned here, right? Do I think the Dylan Rounds case will pick up in views, in interest overall? No, not at all. Do I hope in some way that in the future, if the case is dragged on, that people look back, as for new viewers, new people interested in the case, to look back at my old videos and catch up there? I would hope to think that could be possible, you know? It's happened with the Kenny Veach case, but maybe that's just more popular, right? And of course, just to tie it back in, popularity. When it comes to the popularity contest, not so much in the YouTuber that covers a specific case channel video, but more so the actual missing person out there at the time. If something is trending, even a missing person, everybody will jump off the ship and cover that only. It's happened. When you had that submarine incident in the ocean, everybody jumped onto that, including true crime channels and missing people cases, such as Lance Kelly and some others, and many others out there, right, jumping onto that. Mob Crew Chris, etc. And Kylie Rodney, that case came about and everything. Everybody jumped off ship from Dylan Rounds and went on to Kylie Rodney. Same with Idaho Ford, people jumped onto that. Mob Crew Chris, Zav Girl, never returned back to Dylan Rounds. So you can clearly see it's a popularity contest. All these YouTube channels out there instantly jumping onto a different case just because it's more trending than what they're currently doing. And whilst that could be considered a smart move by them, it clearly shows that they're so focused on one thing over the other natural important stuff, right? As I said, there's no harm at times moving on to other cases. If you feel like things are slowing down, that there is nothing more you can give to that case, then you should move on. But if there are still things you can provide, then why not do it, right? Regardless of the stats. I mean, I do acknowledge that if you was to upload a video and it could be very important, groundbreaking, breaking news, a new finding, and it is really important and nobody bothers watching, you can consider that a failure and also a big disappointment because you're spending time trying to get that message out there and people can't be bothered learning about it. That's disappointing, of course. But at the same time, if you're in a position where you've been given important information, evidence to present to the general public, and it's like on a one-on-one basis by somebody else out there, then you should make the video regardless, okay? Because when it comes to the Dylan Rounds case, not as much has gone on in the background there like I had with the Kenny Veach case, right? Back in the Kenny Veach case, the odd person may have said, right, Warlight Ref, trust you, here's some updates, feel free to spread the message. I'd do that regardless, right? Regardless of who watches, because this person has trusted me to present this information and news to the general public, so I should follow through with that. With the Dylan Rounds case, because it's a bit more public and there's already people in the background operating on the case, if I was in a situation to cover some information and it wasn't on a private one-to-one basis, it was just randomly out there, it's like, if I didn't cover it, it's not the end of the world because other people will cover it. So it doesn't all, not all the responsibility lies on me, like how it did at times in the Kenny Veach case. If it does though in the Dylan Rounds case, regardless of stats, then the videos will be made and will be covered. I don't like the idea of gatekeeping information because I know many other people do that in the true crime community. I know at times that you've got to keep things quiet because they tell you to and just to follow through with things and respect for privacy. But when people take it upon themselves to withhold stuff when it could and it can and it's been acknowledged to be released publicly and they don't, then it becomes a bit weird and problematic. So I don't like the idea of that. Okay? Anyway, moving on. Clear. Lol, as soon as Warlight Ref said medium, something I was feeding my pussy cat. You were feeding your pussy cat? Oh no, you were wait, are you feeding your face? Oh, I see, Cleo. So she meant it in like a joking way. So in the previous video, when I was talking about a medium, a play on words, oh, are you a medium? I thought you were more of an extra large. And when Cleo heard that mentioned, she was stuffing her face full of chips. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for everything. You're welcome, Cleo. As said, Cleo, hopefully you understood that I can't reply back to every single comment, just like how it applies to other people out there. It's just not always possible. Pam, I've not seen Pam for a while. She says, thank you, you're welcome. Pam has a question. Why did Chase go to Ogden that morning? Did he have guns to take to the pawn shop, then stay around till later that night? Where did Don go? Is he out biking around the States doing whatever he does? Not sure there either. So many people being mentioned with no answers. How do we know that the LE FBI is not doing their jobs? We don't. Only what Candice Cooley says. So many questions, not enough answers. Have a good night. Response. I'm sure LE would check on Chase's records of pawning things, or at least I would hope so. So it was the FBI that got a hold of the CCTV footage to prove where Chase was with the timestamps and then provide that to Candice Cooley, who told us about it, and I believe Mob Crew Chris as well. So like the, 10:30 p.m. at Ogden, at Ogden, Little Caesars Pizza. So just to respond back to Pam, Pam says, why did Chase go to Ogden that morning? Well, I don't know exact time it was, but initially Chase Venstra didn't go directly to Ogden in the morning. Chase Venstra went to the Flying J's in Snowville, Utah. Snowville is different to Ogden. Ogden's part of Salt Lake City, kind of within that area also. Snowville is more northwest of Ogden, okay? If you look back at the maps, it'll make more sense. So Chase was seen on CCTV camera at the Flying J's at Snowville, Utah at 7:01 a.m. Then later on in the day, he was at Clinton, Utah, or near to Clinton, at one of the KFCs. And then at 10:30 p.m. was seen on CCTV camera again, this time at Ogden in the evening at Little Caesars Pizza. Okay? So certain areas where Chase was throughout the day, he was there because maybe primarily to get food, to pass time, to hang out, right? At least for the CCTV cameras that picked him up in those 3 different areas, it was at fast food places. He wanted food, he was hungry. Is it the main reason? Probably not, but it's one of the reasons. As for pawn shops, we did actually analyse that, Pam, in terms of all the pawn shops within the area of at least Ogden and thinking of the possibilities there, but came to that conclusion of it really was the case. I'm sure police would have followed it up, or as Indiana said, you'd hope to think so, and go from there. And then as for the gun situation, because we know Dylan Round's gun, whether it was taken in the first place or not, it was found. At least it was found. It didn't disappear or was sold. None of that. But what about Brenner's? Whether in the time-lapse footage or another firearm which was used in the murder of Dylan. Is Pam suggesting that maybe if Chase played a role, that Chase used that weapon or got a hold of that murder weapon and then sold it afterwards? I still think police probably would have followed that up. And this is the thing. There's timestamps, there's CCTV footage at these fast food places. No mention of, at this timestamp, Venstra was at a pawn shop. Because if he was, I'm sure they might have followed that up. Moving on. Weezer. Candice Cooley had a post on Facebook that the wallet had... Okay, yeah. It's hard. We'll look at that shortly, okay? Maybe a piece of clothing, possibly DNA. Yeah. Where was the last place we know of where the dogs were used? Lucin Pond and the area around it, so I'm guessing it's something found there. The last place we know of where the dogs were used at the pond. Well, at least from what I've heard, if we're looking back to when it was really talked about, and this might date back quite a bit now, but more so in 2022, just before winter time in 2022, the big push before winter, where canine dogs were specifically used in the wash. After that, going into 2023, summertime searches, Candice Cooley never mentioned any particular areas where dogs were used at, right? The only thing I can acknowledge and understand from Indiana's point of view about the pond being the last known place is because what Indiana is probably referring to here is that interview from months ago where Candice Cooley referred to the grain shed property and then the pond as the final hit locations where over a course of months the dogs reacted in a way that there was a scent there but never was followed up. So I can understand why Indiana is saying that the pond was probably the last known area where the dogs were searching. But the thing what I wanted to highlight, and it still stands to this day, it depends how Candice Cooley was wording it at the time. Candice Cooley said, and previously, for months, the dogs were acting this way in those areas, such as the pond and shed. But what does she mean by for a few months? A few months of 2023 or a few months back in 2022? She did not specify. So it's not for definite that the dogs were last used at the pond. This is why we need to acknowledge the key language. Luckily, I can remember it. Would I be surprised if the last known location was the pond? I wouldn't be surprised because there seems to be an obsession with that area, like with Candice Cooley and the family and some of them out there. But as for all the other searches, they've been private, so canine dogs have been used in the background, but we've not been told where or when. And they said because they didn't want all the crazies out there to learn about it and disrupt it, which I can understand in a way. So really, at least from what I remember, when it was specifically stated that at this date, at this time, on this year, 2022, before winter time, that's when the dogs were truly used, and the last known location publicly was the wash. Ever since from then onwards, yes, dogs have been used, but as to where exactly, it's not been specified, and as to when, it's not been specified. Okay? Weezer, I'll add on with your comment afterwards. Spook, he may walk. Are you saying that Brenner might walk as a free man or something? Skeptical, remember that comment Justin Rounds left on Don Hatley's Facebook? Something like, if I find it, you're involved. And Candice Cooley got mad saying Justin Rounds could be ruining things. I don't know if I could be wrong about the wording, but it made me think maybe Ellie found unknown DNA back then and just recently identified it. I'm not sure. First of all, your point about Justin Rounds leaving a comment on Don Hatley's Facebook page, was it that way round? I thought it was Justin Rounds tagging Don Hatley in a post on Justin's account. Because there was like numerous occasions, maybe 2 to 3 times. The last one I remember what Justin Rounds said, and it was in 2023, months ago though, where Justin Rounds said, if I find out you've got anything to do with it, I'm going to spill your guts. I might even come on down and pay you a visit as well. It was along the lines of that. I have documented it on my channel. And then before that one, Justin Rounds said, you are dead men walking. And then at the same time, or before that, whichever way around it was, then called Don Hatley out and said, you fat beep, get your gay son out and your whole family down to the main line. 3 different call-outs, right? That's what it was about. And I guess the first 2 occasions, or the first one at least, that's where Candice Cooley said to Justin, you best rein it in. And then Justin Rounds after that, I guess, ended up posting that private conversation public, which didn't help, but it identified that Candice Cooley wasn't too pleased with Justin Rounds publicly calling out Don Hatley, just in case it harmed the case. So that's understandable there. So we have reached the end of the comments, and we can follow on from Weezers. Let's go on over to the Facebook page. So we have reached the main part, an important part of this video, which is looking at the latest update by Candice Cooley on the Dylan Rounds Facebook page. If we scroll on down here, we can see it. Newest activity, 18 hours ago it was posted. Let's just read the caption of it. There is a photo down below. Candice Cooley says, as for a clarification update, Dylan's wallet was not found. Not found. This is yet another ploy from YouTube creators, with an S, to get more money off of Dylan's story. We will update any information that we can immediately on this page. If his wallet was found, it would be put into evidence and have to be entered into Discovery, which is public at this point. Okay. This group has been such amazing support for us as a family, and all immediate updates will be here. Please do not let these creators scam you out of money saying it is to help find Dylan or because they have information that we have withheld. That is not the case. In the meantime, as we all impatiently wait for the next hearing, we will be putting together another fundraising that all proceeds will once again go to the K9 TF. They have already used some of the funds from our previous fundraiser that runs Tyres and Barbecue Cook-Off event to go out and help those that do not have the means, and we'll continue to do so. More details to come in the next 10 days. And there is a photo there with a direct link. I'm not quite sure where that is, but we'll check the comments out shortly, So let me just share with you my thoughts now, my reaction to this, and of course, people in the chat, share your thoughts as well. So it appeared that Bob Farrell mentioned this in his live stream last night. Well, a poor attempt of doing it. It took nearly 10 minutes to actually get the post up and read it out. First of all, Bob Farrell's video plays. You got someone in the background. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I'll just spend 10 minutes walking back and forth. Do I join? Do I not? Do I talk? Do I not? Do I go over here? Do I go over here? I don't know. And then Jim Terry's in the background. Well, anyway, I don't want to speculate too much. You know, I could check myself, but I just can't be bothered. I'll get somebody else to do the work and then claim it's all me. And it's like, come on, bitch, please. Hallelujah. Is it that difficult? All you have to do is go on the Facebook page of Find Dylan Rounds and go from there. You don't even have to sign in. Like, is it that difficult to get up to spend 10 minutes plus trying to find it? This is what I mean. People out there and on those channels complain about Warlight Ref's channel for not going truly live, even though I have done, idiots. And people say that, oh, this format isn't good. Well, look at your own format. You can't even get it together. You've got reverberating sound in the background. You've got people on repeat because they've got other devices on playing in the background. You've got things being cut off, poor audio quality. It's a fucking shit show. And that applies to many different true crime channels out there in general. It's not structured, it's not formal, it's not edited, it's a raw piece of mess, okay? And when you're trying to deliver a clear, concise piece of information, or you want a deep-rooted discussion and analysis about something, live streams are not the way to go. You want a true, in-depth look at something with zero interruptions, standard video format, in a live premiere structure, so then everyone can watch it at the same time and react to it as well and have their own voices in the chat box. Very simple, but clearly many humans out there fail to grasp that idea. Anyway, we move on forwards. So, I just want to give you my thoughts about this. I want to try and break it down, okay? Do we check the comments immediately? Do you know what? Let's just check the comments immediately because there might be some add-on points here. Okay, 45 minutes ago. Billy, can you explain or link the K9TF? Sending love. Candice Cooley, there will be an online link to order them. Working on putting it all together. Would you mail a hoodie to Canada? So if she's putting it together, technically that means that it's not come about yet. So like there's no proper storefront with the clothing available. Or that the link hasn't been provided yet. Okay. So that's still pending, but it's an idea and a concept that's actually going forwards. I'll give you my thoughts about that. We got someone called Vicky Corbin. Now, is Vicky Corbin related to Ty Corbin? No clue. I've no clue. What's this? McKinney? Great hoodies. We'll love to have one. Don't worry about those haters. None know anything about your son. Millie Miller. Candice, our hearts go out from Australia. We've been anxiously following this case, and as a parent, I sincerely admire you and send you so much love and strength. We're here for you. This is the exact reason I joined this page. I know if there was any real or true information, you will let us know and keep us updated. Love and strength to you, Candice. The thing is, Linda, you say that, yes, updates are provided at times, but not always. And yet there are still people on this page on Facebook that are still way behind with the information and don't know what's what. So if people say that that place is a good like community and page to learn about the latest stuff, the real information on the case, then why is there so many people on that page so behind on stuff and muddled and confused as to what's what? Where have people been? You know what I'm saying? Bit all over. Those hoodies will be a great fundraiser. They should be They should put some big tough guy in the cell with that creep. See what he says then. Oh, Brenner. May Dylan be found soon and the legacy continue to help others. That sticker looks great. I'll be watching for you to announce sales on these hoodies. Sales? What, discount? I don't think that's the point of the fundraiser. Prayers for you and family. Can't wait to help. Okay. I think there is only one person who knows where Dylan is, and he's in jail, Brenner. Maybe a second person is his friend Don Hatley. Okay. The first mentions of Don Hatley's name in a while on the official page. Makes a change. Love the hoodies. What a great fundraiser. Right, okay. We'll be waiting for these to go on sale. I guess when they meant go on sale when they're available to buy and not on a discount price, I guess. Betty saying, I pray that they'll be found, and I'm praying that I can get these comments to load up, but they're not. Oh my God, incompetent technology. Well, I'm tapping it as much as I can and it's not working. Useless. But that aside, so from the looks of it, at least, the next fundraiser and the proceeds going towards that K9 TF group must originate from these hoodies and maybe additional clothing line in acknowledgement of Dylan Rounds with the logo as we've seen in the past, which has the sunflower in the middle to represent Dylan and the farming, the wheat on the sides, I guess, as well. Below the sunflower is a drone. Now that drone was first introduced with the logo back when the full spectral drone was raised and then given to Candice Cooley and Texas Equisearch to use. That's where it all begun. You know, the true catalyst of it all, the drone being a key piece in searching for Dylan Rounds. And now on the back of the hoodie, acknowledgement of the K9TF task force unit to acknowledge them. Their impact, influence on the case, just as important as the usage of drones. So it's all coming together now. 2 key pieces of equipment, resources, which can be used in searching for missing people, etc. I get that now. So are there any links to this page to buy the clothing? Not from what I can see at this moment in time. The same, that it's for a good cause. It's specifically to raise money for that K9TF unit. Okay. I mean, it's already been done previously and it seemed to be a success because there was posts by K9 themselves later saying how much help it was and that the money that was raised and given to us, that it allowed us to proceed onto Montana and deploy dogs out there, etc. So with those updates, at least it shows genuine progress made. No dodgy scams in the background from the looks of it. So if they're doing it a second time round, I guess it will go well and maybe people will relate to it more because it's a form of clothing. You know, people are giving money. It's going to a good cause, I guess, but the people that are paying are also getting something back in return, which is clothing, and it kind of like works out for everyone in a way. Now, if a YouTuber did this, they would get absolutely scolded by the likes of Candice Cooley and maybe other family members. Just one of those things. I mean, look at Mob Crew Chris, just in general. I guess he has got merchandise. And if not, No Thanks. I'm sure No Thanks has got merchandise, a clothing store or something at a point in time. Now, none of it is to do with Dylan Rounds, of course. It's just in general to represent their channel. But it helps make some form of money to be able to keep on continuing doing what they do. And it's just like a form of support, but also receiving like items as well as for the general public. Yet when Candice Cooley was working or cooperating with the likes of No Thanks or Mob Crew Chris, Candice Cooley never called those channels out for supposedly making money off merch in the name of missing people, because that's what their channels are about. Candice Cooley never called those people out. So it shows a bit of picking and choosing sides. Oh, that person can do this, but the person over there can't. Picking and choosing, but they do it themselves. Depends how you look at it. Anyway, looking back at the first part, Candice Cooley saying that the wallet has not been found. Well, is it any surprise to me that it's not been found? Not really, because I've always been under the impression that the wallet has never been found, right? It only started like a few weeks ago, or just under a week, where some people on my channel, Indiana Tom Evans, for a short point in time, touched upon a wallet supposedly being found. But once again, it's the Bob Farrell effect. the Bob Farrell influence, where Bob may receive intel from somewhere, whether it's right or mostly wrong, and then it's talked about. And because Bob Farrell at times poorly words things in the title or how he says stuff in the video live stream, it can be misinterpreted. Now, at least from the way people were wording it on my channel in recent time, the likes of Indiana, who is a Bob Farrell viewer, Tom Evans, just as well, and some others, that when I asked them about it, wait, where did you hear this from, that a wallet was found in the short term? Where did this come from? And they said it came from Bob Farrell's channel, what Bob Farrell said. Now, recently, Bob Farrell has kind of gone back on himself and said, no, I didn't do anything. It ain't me. Right. Maybe it was just the poor wording choice at the time in which others misinterpreted it and may have assumed that that's what you were saying. End of the day, just a clusterfuck, right? One of those things, one of those tings. But isn't it ironic how once again this wave, this spell of supposed BS misinformation didn't harm me. It didn't send me down a rabbit hole. Wasn't even really aware of it because I was doing my own thing. I was looking at the case myself and focusing in with my own thoughts. So I didn't get brainwashed by anyone. So it's all under control once again. But yeah, the talk about the wallet. Really, if the wallet was found, as I said, yes, it's evidence, but is it really breaking news? Maybe only if there was additional DNA upon it, which may have linked onto a new suspect, that would be breaking news. But really, if Dylan's wallet is found, what's going to be on it? Any money? A card? Well, if so, then it just simply explains why there's been no card transactions since. But that aside, it just doesn't do much, does it? Unless there was a bullet hole in the wallet and you could say, bullet hole, maybe Dylan was shot. But still, I can't imagine that. You know, the phone was more important piece of evidence than the wallet alone. But the contents on Dylan's phone, that time lapse, more important than Dylan's wallet. Dylan's boots being found, more important than Dylan's wallet. Now you could say, well, surely the wallet must be more important than any other item because it's the one thing that has not been found yet. My response to that would be, it doesn't really mean it's more important just because it hasn't been found yet. It's just that maybe it hasn't been found yet because it just happens to be on Dylan. So wherever Dylan Rounds is at, there is the wallet. And because Dylan Rounds hasn't been found, well then the wallet will never be found up until maybe the body is found. Does that make sense? That's the way I see it. I think Dylan may have had the wallet on him in his pocket or something. But is there a possibility that if it was Brenner or somebody else looked through that wallet to check if there was any money, opportunistic behaviour, and then realised, well, there isn't any, so I'll just discard it? Could Brenner have discarded it elsewhere? There's still that possibility. But still, even if it was found, is it going to be of that much value when there's already enough evidence at hand? Right? You get what I'm saying? Now, we can still acknowledge and link in with that recent new evidence, which we'll highlight shortly, because I just want to add it in to what Candice Cooley has said later on in this point. But let's just continue analysing. Candice Cooley states that it's yet another ploy from YouTube creators with an S, that means more than one person on YouTube, to make money off Dylan's story. That's what Candice Cooley thinks immediately, that YouTubers are doing it for money to create false narratives so they can benefit themselves on behalf of Dylan's story in case. So once again, Candice Cooley has thoughts of bad intentions as to what YouTubers would be doing or are doing, right? But take in mind that Candice Cooley was okay with Mob Crew Chris, no thanks those people, and no thanks did bad videos on Dylan way back in the past and was cooperating with Jim Terry. Candice Cooley doesn't seem to be too bothered by that, or is she even aware? I don't know, maybe a short-term memory there. But, you know, this is the thing what needs to be acknowledged. While some people in the background, maybe on Bob's channel, were having a bit of a meltdown because of who is this in relation to? Who's this referring to? That maybe Bob, Jim Terry were assuming that it's all about Bob. Is that kind of like an entitlement? Oh, everything evolves, you know, everything, you know, is about you and this and that. Is it really? I mean, the way Candice Cooley has worded it here, very vaguely. She did not mention anybody's name. And she said YouTube creators, not creator. Put an S on the end, so it must mean more than one person. But how many more people out there are talking about the wallet being found when it hasn't, besides Bob? Maybe Candice Cooley is wording it in such a way that she thinks that people that leave comments on videos are YouTube creators as well. If that was the case, there may be people that have left comments on my channel or on other people's videos about a wallet. That's what Candice Cooley has referred to as spreading misinformation there. Have I talked about the wallet briefly in one of my previous videos? I didn't even title it wallet either. I mentioned what's happened to the wallet, where could it be at, etc. That same old talk, not about the wallet has been found, not directly coming from my mouth. So likely Candice Cooley is referring to other people out there, and an example would be Bob Farrell, because that's where most of it came from. But did it come from anywhere else? Was it spread anywhere else? Let me know down below. But, what should we say? Well, let's put that on hold for now, just in case I've got anything else to say. Candice says we will update any information that we can immediately do so on the page. If the wallet was found, it would be put as discovery, so it would be in the public eye. Right, okay. And she acknowledges the group and everything, that they've done well. Yeah. What's this? Okay, please do not let these creators scam you out of money. This to think, how are creators scamming people out of money when at the end of the day, it's the general public that decide to give in some way because they want to, because it's natural, they want to show support, acknowledgement, thank somebody just because they want to, whatever, natural, it's not forced. But maybe, just maybe on other channels, it could be forced. I don't know. I mean, the way Candice Cooley is wording it here, it's more applying on the lines of if someone said, give me money and then I'll go out there and search. Give me this and then I can get this so I can use to search for Dylan. It's like promising to deliver, but needing the funds, emotionally getting people and persuading others to give, and then you go off and then do something completely different. That would be considered scamming. But in terms of doing a video saying, hi, welcome to today's video, we're going to be talking about this, and then suddenly someone gives a super chat, that's down to personal choice. And it is, of course, most definitely acknowledged at any point, any time. If people, want to give a super chat or join as a member or gift membership, it needs to be acknowledged. And of course, it needs to be appreciated, etc. Right? I don't know if Candice Cooley is referring to that as scamming or more so the GoFundMes and stuff like that. Then that would make more sense. Because really, I think the only way it could be considered scamming is if, can I just use a quick example? Let's say if Nance and King Samoan were present right now, and I said, if anybody gives me $500, I will shave most of my hair off and have a mohawk. And let's just say I suddenly received $500 out of nowhere, but I decided not to shave my hair and that I didn't have a mohawk. I lied. Well, then that would be considered scamming people. You promised something, you did not deliver, right? And hopefully, it sounds weird saying hopefully not, but hopefully no one did give 500 just then, because that would be a very awkward situation. I was just using that as an example to prove my point about scamming. I mean, the complete contrast to that is like when I've done random videos and I said, if someone gives a super chat, I will whip myself a certain number of times, depending what the amount is. So if someone gave a super chat of $10 or £10, then I will whip myself 10 times. Or if someone gave a super chat of 99p, 99 cent, then I'll have to whip myself almost 99 times. And I followed through with that every single time. So I followed through with the promise. I delivered. which is the most important part. Now, just as a heads up, I'm not whipping myself in today's video because it's not a live stream. I wouldn't know the super chats at the time if there were any, okay? But if randomly anyone did send super chats now or earlier and wanted me to whip myself a certain number of times based on the super chat, I will catch up on that in a singular video, okay? Normally, it's always done as a live stream, but if someone jumped the gun and randomly did it now, then I'd have to do a video for tomorrow or the day after to catch up. Because as I said, this is a pre-recorded video done as a live premiere. Just so people understand that at least, okay? So, just to refer back to what was mentioned earlier on by Candice Cooley, saying about, if we can reveal evidence, then we'll do so, and such as the wallet, it'd be considered discovery evidence, which is public. So what is it considered as for the evidence which was provided by the Sun article? Let's just refer back to that right now. So anybody watching, just memorize what's been said here by Candice Cooley. Just focus on the key lines of Candice Cooley saying, we will update any information that we can do so publicly. And certain evidence would be considered discovery, such as the wallet, which would mean it's public in the public eye. Just take that into mind. We're just going to head on over to that recent article. Hopefully people are familiar with this article. It did come out around 1st of October time, but before that, the actual interview that was conducted by the US Sun was at CrimeCon with Candice Cooley. So I'm assuming and aware that Candice Cooley was aware herself that who she was speaking to, like a media representative, was going to publish it publicly. Because if not, why would they be talking about it in a public space, such as CrimeCon, right? As said, the key word public stuff talked about and published here, as what Candice Cooley said in her recent post, saying if anything is, talkable publicly, then it'll be revealed. Well, okay, the wallet has been dismissed. So what about the fact that here, new DNA evidence was found recently by expertly trained canine dogs and is being examined in the hope of further pinning the disappearance on Brenner? As said, it doesn't specify what type of evidence it was or like what the DNA, where did the DNA came from or what was it found on, more so. Maybe that DNA evidence is pending as to who it belongs to, the hopes that it's on Brenner to further and strengthen the case. But the actual item not been mentioned. Is there a possibility that this new DNA evidence could just be a soil sample? And I don't mean if someone soiled themselves, I mean like ground dirt. But after all this time, would there still be DNA out there? Well, clearly, that seems to be the case, at least how it's been worded here. Maybe less to do with the ground and dirt, maybe more to do with DNA found on an item. Just like how previously at the start, Brenner's DNA fingerprints found on Dylan's boots. That a form of DNA found on Brenner's shirt which belonged to Dylan besides the blood, right? Stuff like that. DNA of somebody belonging to somebody else upon a person's object, clothing, possession. So what possession, what item is it this time round? Now, this is the thing. You could have hinted and said, well, maybe Candice Cooley has suddenly come out now to dismiss the claims that the wallet has been found by saying it hasn't, but secretly it has. And that's all because of this article that publicly stated that new DNA evidence was found, and people have speculated ever since. And Candice Cooley has been informed in the background to keep it a secret. So by dismissing it once again, it's to save the case. But that doesn't seem to apply here, because in Candice Cooley's Facebook post, she said if the wallet was found, it's discovery evidence. It would be presented publicly. So if it was found, it would have been mentioned already publicly, so there would be no need to keep it a secret. There would be no need to lie or go against what's mentioned here. So that would imply that this new DNA evidence does not belong to the wallet, but something else out there in which the dogs were responsible for finding. So that still remains a mystery, but I just wanted to clear that up, just in case people started linking the wallet to this article. That doesn't seem to be the case, at least how it's been all worded and constructed. I've not seen any other channels at least mention about this stuff, which is quite important, but it's just one of those things. Anything else to report back on? Well, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but I just want to present to you that copyright claim I received, okay? If there anyone is joining right now, wanting to hear about the latest update by Candice Cooley, Dylan Round's case, be sure to rewind back to the start of this video to understand. What I want to present to you now for those that are still watching is, once again, as of waking up this morning, I received another false copyright claim for music which was never used in my video to begin with. Try and guess what the name of the music is and who it's by. I'll do a countdown from 5 and you can let me know in the comments. Try and guess where the copyright claim was from and what copyright music was claimed in the first place, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. So it says, "Hi Warlight Wrath, a copyright owner using Content ID has claimed some material in your video. Your video is live and visibility settings that you selected remain applied to it. However, it is now either being monetized by the copyright owner or they have chosen to receive the analytics about the video, such as the likes, the dislikes, the watch time, watch hours, attention rate, views, subscriber count, etc." Saying, "It's not a copyright strike. This claim does not affect your account status. The video title, the video that I made back then, which has received a false copyright claim, was titled Justin Rounds Speaks with Jim Brenner, Phone Ping Update and More Analysis." So once again, it mentions Jim Brenner's name, but also this time Justin Round's name. So is there any family members out there or any third-party people having a tantrum with me, so they want to try and silence me once again, and that they've always got to resort to the copyrighted content of pizza and drugs? And it's claimed by Merlin Epitaph. Never heard of them before, right? Take in mind, I didn't look completely, but there was a comment recently on my Kenny Veach video which I talked about where I received a copyright claim, and the person listed saying that Merlin or Epitaph aren't related or they're not associated with that label. It's a completely different person, so they're actually impersonating somebody else, or there's some kind of shady stuff going on in the background. Well, if there's shady stuff going on in the background, then clearly someone has a grudge against me in the Dylan Rounds community or further afar in the true crime community. That people out there want my channel to be shut down because they don't like me covering stuff or talking. Is it because I'm getting too close to the truth? Is it because I'm touching a nerve with people out there? I don't know, but once again, here we are again. This is the 11th false copyright claim I've received on my videos. And most, if not all, of these false copyright claims, besides from the fact that they're false claims, besides from the fact that none of the claimed music actually belongs in my video, besides the fact that the actual music that I have used was copyright free and there was an agreement with the music composer on YouTube known as CoAG Music, a completely different channel out there, and I'm getting on well with them. Besides all of that, it's mostly on my old videos because recently I've not been using any music in my videos because I didn't want to risk it, right? But take in mind, there have been some times in the past where I've done a completely different video with a form of music within it and it still got claimed. So there is a pandemic with false copyright claims on YouTube as a whole. It's just very coincidental how it's all my Dylan Rounds videos being targeted and the odd Kenny Veach one. It does seem a bit more of a personal attack. I think it's very silly and very stupid. As for the previous disputes, there's about 10 days left on them. And if the fake people out there don't respond, then it just ends up being disregarded. So was it really worth it? You get what I'm saying? But we'll see how things go, right? I just wanted to present this to you. I just wanted to document it to you so you know what's going on and what's happened once again. Very coincidental. And you know what the biggest coincidence is? I think it was last night I announced that I reached my 400 plus milestone as for coverage on the Dylan Browns case, and after publicly mentioning it and stating Warlike Raf has made 400 videos on the case, more than anybody else, oh, what happens the next day? I receive a false copyright claim. Well, isn't that a coincidence? Just like how last time I announced the milestone of reaching 50,000 views on a Kenny Veach video, and then shortly afterwards, the next day, I just so happened to receive a false copyright claim on another Kenny Veach video. Very clear patterns. Just like in the past where I talked about how, oh, when I get involved in the Dylan Browns case, I kind of I'm expecting to get attacked. I'm kind of expecting to receive resistance. I wouldn't be surprised if there are fake impersonation accounts of me, just like what I went through, all the BS in the Kenny Veach case community. Oh, and then what happens afterwards? There's fake impersonation accounts of me. It's very silly what people are doing. Some form of interactional synchronicity, I don't know, but the synchronicities are pathetic. Okay? So let me know your thoughts down below. Take in mind, if anyone is interested in the copyrighted content, type pizza and drugs into the YouTube search bar and you'll find it top page. Just go on that video and then maybe leave a comment saying why are you leaving false copyright claims. Feel free to do so. Need to try and get to the bottom of it at some point. All in all, that's what I wanted to cover today on the latest Dylan Rounds updates. As I said, I do have a video for tomorrow. I don't know if I'll incorporate it with another thing. Not kind of coincides with the Dylan Rounds case because there's certain people involved and what's happening in the background, but I didn't want to include that in today's video because today's video was more about Dylan. So I'm trying to separate it now compared to in the past. That might help viewer experience. So then when the messy stuff comes around to cover, to document or to defend myself, I do that in a separate video. So I will be defending myself in tomorrow's video. Be on the lookout for that. Bob Farrell has shown his true colours now. It was a matter of time. And will be, you know, reacting accordingly, as said, with or without the use of tools. Okay? More verbally. But you'll find out eventually when it comes about. Be on the lookout for that. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video and maybe you learned something new. If you noticed any contradictions or picked up on anything, if you've got any questions, be sure to leave comments down below on this video. Feel free to like, share the video to spread awareness in general, just from what Candice Cooley has said, and let me know if you agree with it or not. We'll leave it there for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye and good night.